Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It with topics and guests from near and far. I'm January McKay, your host, and today we have an exclusive show for you. My guest is Mr. Carl Gamble, the author of My Blue Yonder, an important memoir on his days as a pilot in Vietnam. I will be right back with my guest. Captain Gamble's career includes flying a plane destroyed by enemy fire and an airliner hijacked by an air pirate. Growing up, Captain Gamble was fascinated by the F 84 Thunderjets that belonged to the 31st Fighter Wing Station at Turner Air Force Base near Albany, Georgia. He told his mother he was going to be a pilot one day, and that's exactly what he became.
Special Operations Squadron and the name Vietnam. Our mission was to drop leaflets and tell the enemy to give up, turn in his rifle for food. So since we weren't dropping bombs, we were dropping leaflets. We had a nickname. They call us I guess I can say this, the bombers. Anyway, I flew 244 combat missions. And one of those missions, we were hit with a 50 caliber enemy ground run or fire that came through the bottom of the fuselage, bottom of the airplane, hit some hydraulic lines, ricocheted through the left wing and to the left engine. Right away, that engine started to burn. So we shut the engine down, feather it, and it continued to burn. And I have to make a decision because I am the captain, whether we want to bail the crew out over hostile territory. And that part of Vietnam, they weren't taking any prisoners of war or prisoners. They would take your Geneva Convention card and nail it to your forehead. So we know we got to fly this airplane back, and we got to fly it back with one engine and the other engine on fire. As soon as we made the turn to go back to the base, the left wing fuel tank exploded, taking some of the wing with it. So now we got two problems. We got an engine on fire and we got some of the wing missing. As I'm saying to myself, I think I will die today. We got rid of all the leaflets and we're flying back. And I am thinking, wow, I do not want to die in this ungodly forsaken place where I don't want to be anyway. I am thinking about my mom. I'm thinking about how dear she was to me, thinking about how she watched her husband shoot and kill her 16-year-old brother right in front of her eyes, and thinking about how that didn't destroy her, but gave her a tool to use for her strength. As we're flying back, I get a call from the back that, Captain, can you hurry up and get us down because we're suffocating from smoke inhalation. So we know that we only got a certain amount of time that we can make it, and we're losing altitude while we were flying back. Make it almost back to the airport, and the tower calls us and say, you are too low. You're not going to make it to the runway. You need to go around. Our response is, we cannot go around with one engine. So we did make it to the runway, land the airplane, rolled down the runway, and when we got it stopped, shut the other engine down, By this time, the flames and the smoke have gotten so intense that they're going past the exit door. The crew calls up from the back and say, "Captain, we can't get out." Pedro, the base helicopter, hovered above us and pushed the fire and the flames far enough from the door that we could get out. Less than 2 minutes after we were out of the airplane, the auxiliary fuel tank exploded and the airplane was nothing but a ball of fire. Had we flown that airplane for another 2 minutes, it would have exploded in flight, and I would not be here talking to you today. And I say for that, to God be the glory. For that mission, I earned a Distinguished Flying Cross. And I believe one of the questions was, what is the Distinguished Flying Cross? The Distinguished Flying Cross is a military decoration of the United States Armed Forces. The medal was established in 1926. It is awarded to a person or any person that distinguished themselves by a single act of heroism or extraordinary achievement while participating in aerial combat. This is my Distinguished Flying Cross. This is the citation that goes with it. Captain Carl Gamble distinguished himself by extraordinary achievement while participating in connection with military operations against an opposing armed force near the named Republic of Vietnam. On that day, Captain Gamble was in command of a C-47 aircraft, which was hit by hostile anti-aircraft fire. Though his aircraft was in flames and an injured fellow, he assessed the situation and determined to attempt a landing rather than crash or bail his crew out. The courage and skill displayed by Captain Gamble was instrumental in saving the lives of his crew. The professional competence, air skill, and devotion to duty displayed gives credit upon the Air Force and himself and the U.S. Air Force. I also received a air medal with 6 oak leaf clusters and the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with a palm leaf. So from Vietnam, I rotated back to the States. I went and I flew KC-135s before I got out of air refueling, and then I got out of the Air Force. So what airplanes that I flew in the military, I flew the KC-135, C-47, and of course in pilot training, the last airplane is the supersonic T-38. Okay, when I got back, got out of the Air Force, I got hired with Piedmont Airlines. And I started out on an airplane that was a propeller. I ended up flying for Piedmont the 737, 757, 767. And my last 2 years, I flew out of Charlotte and Philadelphia to London, Frankfurt, Paris, and Madrid on the largest airplane that they had, which was the A330, 208 feet long, carried 300 passengers, had 9 laboratories and 14 flight attendants.
Wow, what a career. What a career. And I just want to take the time right now, take a moment to just thank you for your service. And yes, we do thank God that you are still here to share your such inspiring story with us today. And that is such a distinguished award that you received. And so congratulations. And I'm sure that is not the end of what you'll receive. And I want to ask you a question. What made you transition out of the Air Force?
Well, I thought, the commercial airlines, they don't get shot at. They have flight attendants are beautiful women in the back of the airplane instead of load masters. And one thing that I didn't think about though was the airlines do get hijacked. So 10 years after I had been with Piedmont in March of 1984 on a routine flight from Charlotte to Miami with a stop in Charleston, the flight attendant called me on the intercom and said, "We're being hijacked. We have a gentleman back here who gave me a note that says that he has with accomplices of 2 people, and they have a bomb on the airplane. And unless we take them to Cuba, they will blow this airplane up in the air." So I asked her to let me talk to him or bring me the note. And the note said that his name was Lieutenant Spartacus or something to that degree. And they had checked the bomb on board the airplane, and he had a detonator, and they were going to blow it up unless we took them to Havana. So at this time, we were talking to air traffic control. We need a flight plan. We're talking to our dispatch to find out how much fuel we need to take them. And we're squawking the hijack code. As the dispatch came back to us, they said, "You need to go ahead and take this guy before you get low on fuel, and you can't make it." So I asked to talk to the gentleman one more time. I said, "If this is a hoax or a joke, we can land in Miami and everything can be taken care of there." He said, "Captain, I assure you, this is not a hoax or a joke. And if you land this airplane in Miami, we'll blow it up and all these passengers will be on your hand." So we continued and landed in Cuba, land on 13-foot runway, whereas there is a bomb on the airplane. You're far enough that it won't hurt anybody in the terminal. The Cubans surround the airplane with soldiers with carbines and rifles and handguns. And they let the passengers off first, and they let the crew off, and they wait for him to come to the door and give himself up, which he did. And they go through all luggage. However, they did not find a bomb. The hijacker ended up spending 15 years in prison in Cuba, and he did 15 years as a citizen. When he came back to the States in 2014, he had to, as soon as his feet touched the soil, the FBI picked him up and charged him with air piracy. And they wanted me to come down and testify, and I said no, but he pleaded to a lesser charge, and they gave him time served in Cuba, plus some more years. I'm not familiar with how many.
Wow. So that is, and as your career has been, just like a movie, it
I wish
seems
it were.
your career has been like a movie. But when did you retire from flying, and like how long did you fly commercial and Air Force, and then when did you retire?
I was in the Air Force for 8 years. I flew for Piedmont US Air, which is now American, for 29 years, 37 years of flying. I had to retire in 2003 at the age of 60, mandatory. Now, our pilots can fly until the age of 65. I expect that to go up because they're so short on pilots. But come January, I will have been retired 20 years. I will be 80 years old, and it will be my 50th anniversary. So I am blessed.
Wow. Yes, you are. And again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your service. I mean, the story that you shared today was just an amazing story. And I don't even know what to say. I don't have the words. But if this I know he said that your story is like a movie. We know that you have it in a book, right? So this is
Right.
Captain Gamble's book. It is called My Blue Yonder. This is his memoir. And so if you are intrigued by his story, please tell them where you can get the book from.
Yes, they can get it from any bookstore. They can get it from Amazon. And they can also go to my website, captaingamble.biz. They can get the book from my website. We also have audiobooks there. And there are videos that they can also see. So
thank you. And that is it for our show today. Thank you for joining us at Let's Talk About It, and we'll see you next time.
All just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
Ready!
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
Helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.